Hey guys, welcome back to 7th Period. This is Justin Wang.
I'm Ryan Chung.
I'm Justin Kim.
I'm Riley Yan.
And I think we should just start off by saying we're sorry. We should give a formal apology for being for being gone for so long. We've been it's been like 3 weeks now.
It's been a while.
Way
more. Middle of Christmas break probably.
Yeah, we really have no excuse for that. It's just we're lazy. But basically, if you haven't catched our last episode, we did have a guest speaker as well. It was Koichi Takara,
an alumni from Troy.
It's a really good episode, I think. It's about an hour long. It's kind of long, but we do discuss a lot of interesting topics.
And we did get good feedback off that episode, and I thought no one would be fit for this role of guest speaker, none other than Mr. Nicholson.
Exactly. So this time we do have Mr. Nicholson. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Nicholson.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me on the 7th Period podcast. Happy to be here.
For those who don't know you, could you state your job and occupation?
Well, I am a teacher at Troy High School.
Yeah.
I teach APUSH history.
Woo!
So
Best
juniors,
class.
Yes, I teach the juniors. And I've been doing so now for about 11 years.
Wow.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and a lot of people like you as a U.S. history teacher.
I like you as a
Stop
history
around
teacher.
us.
Me too.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you guys kiss up to your guests, you know.
Yes.
So,
It's important for future guests to know that,
Oh, yeah.
especially. So you guys are going to ask me all questions about
of course.
Nicolas Cage today, right?
No.
Not
I made the mistake once. I'm not gonna make
Mr.
that
Nicholson
mistake
Cage.
again.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So just from the beginning, we just wanted to ask you some questions why'd you want to become a teacher?
So I entered college not knowing what I wanted to do. I went in undeclared, and I narrowed it down to teaching or going into business. So I had it kind of narrowed it down to those two, and by the end of sophomore year, I had to pick a profession or pick a major where I wanted to go for my profession. And I still took a couple business classes on the side, but I ended up choosing teaching, and I said to myself, if I want to teach, what age group do I want to teach?
Yeah.
And I am not the best. I'm not the most well suited with young kids. So I knew that right away. It's all about recognizing your strengths and weaknesses. And so I knew that if I was going to teach, I was going to teach older kids, and I thought either high school or college level kids. And I ended up being a history major and deciding to go with high school.
Okay.
So that was what kind of made the transition academically. As far as personally for me goes, I love history, and I love working with young people. So for me, it was like teaching.
Double whammy.
Teaching works. Teaching works. And I knew I wasn't going to be teaching other subjects. I knew history was my wheelhouse.
So, why would you choose U.S. history? Because there's also other histories world history,
European
Yes.
Or what about
Yes,
economics too?
Yeah. That's a good question. All the social science classes.
Yes.
So I didn't choose U.S. history. It kind of chose me.
Ooh, destiny.
So I've actually taught.
It's a little school announcement. This is 7th period.
We'll cut that.
We
Right?
get these
We'll
all the
edit
time.
that.
Let's cut it out.
So basically, I've taught all of those. Actually, I've taught world history and U.S. history when I first started, and then I taught during summertime government and econ. So I've kind of dabbled in all of them. But when I got hired to teach at Troy, they specifically hired me to teach AP U.S. history. So I knew I was being groomed for that role.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of, okay, I need a job. And
But
I'll teach this one.
out of all the histories, world history, was it just a coincidence that you happen to enjoy U.S. history as much as you do, or was it more I guess I'm teaching U.S. history now, might as well get into it?
I would say if I had the choice back then,
Yeah.
if they would have given me the choice, I would have picked U.S.
Okay.
I enjoyed it the most, and that would have been my preference anyway, regardless. The other subjects I enjoy, but just not as much as U.S. history. I think that's my favorite by far.
You said earlier that you're not the best with young kids. What makes you say that? Is there something?
That's a great question.
Well, a couple of anecdotes, I guess, with that. So when I was working on my student teaching, which is what you do after you get your major and graduate from college, you got to do your student teaching and all that, I would do some subbing gigs. And so I subbed for a 3rd grade class.
Oh no.
And I subbed at this private school, and it was a 3rd grade class, and I left that day more exhausted than I have ever been from a day. It is just constant with little kids. Like, you have to constantly keep them engaged and just be on top of them. Yeah. So it was just like, oh, I know this is not for me, like teaching the little kids. And then I did a junior high class too.
Yeah.
And with my degree, I can actually teach junior high, but I knew that age is just an awkward age.
Yeah,
I think junior high, because you're not an elementary kid, but you're not a high schooler yet. So you're just really immature. You're really confused.
You're really confused.
They're making some changes.
It's just that
There's
transition
some
stage.
physical changes going on too.
It's a confusing age.
It is.
This
it
is a
So
PG
I knew
podcast.
That, yes. So I knew that wasn't for me either. So high school was the way to go. I considered college, but then I saw how much more schooling you had to have to do college, and so I didn't want to get my doctorate and things like that. So high school became the primary focus, and I think coaching played into that too, because I wanted to coach as well.
Coach what?
Baseball.
Coach baseball. So I coached baseball for 10 years as well, mostly doing the freshman.
So would you ever consider probably like moving up to become a professor?
At this point.
At this point, no. At this point, no. I wouldn't want to go back to school where I have to go back because you got to get your doctorate pretty much. So, and at this point in life, I'm focused on teaching and I'm focused on my kids. So I would not want to take time away from them. Maybe in the future, if I wanted to go back and do some more schooling, it would be an option. But right now, I'm right where I want to be, and I love what I do.
Right on.
Well, we're lucky for that, because I mean, okay, I didn't take Euro, right? So my last history experience was world history, and I didn't enjoy that. That's not I didn't like it. And so I was already going into APUSH history with a lot of reluctance, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm not really a history person, but I love US history. This is amazing. It's like the most engaged I've ever been in history class.
Really fun.
Yeah, I mean, Euro last year, like, no offense to Mr. Lim, like, he's a nice guy, but,
we
like,
don't need to
I mean, it was just, it wasn't as good
the
as
content.
US history.
That's what you mean.
I think we may have
Content
just
wasn't
like
as enjoyable.
Yes, that's what I
it
meant.
may have been more challenging.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's it.
so you've been teaching for 11 years now. I bet you can say that your career is definitely changed in the students you see and like all the stuff you're teaching. What are some of like the biggest changes you've seen in like the past generation, like towards the beginning of your career to like now?
Like education wise or like teaching wise.
Yeah, as far as the education trends go, the education trends, it's interesting because technology's always been a big thing.
Right.
And we've recently, just in your guys' high school experience, have morphed into Chromebooks. That wasn't. Did you guys have those freshman year?
No, we didn't have those freshman year.
in junior high, I had iPads.
Yeah, we had
They
iPads.
had
Oh,
iPads,
what?
But like,
We
it
had
wasn't really
That's high tech.
we didn't really use it that much.
So the Chromebooks are a big thing for the technology piece, and educators are encouraged to use more technology in the classroom.
Right.
They've always encouraged us to use technology in the classroom, but they really want to create more of those hands-on experiences, which is hard to balance sometimes when you teach an AP class because the curriculum is so big. There's so much to teach. I mean, I would love to do more with you guys, using your Chromebooks, looking stuff up on your own. Right. There's just not a lot of time for that with the pace. It's the pace that we move
Definitely.
at. So we use them at sometimes in class, for review and outlines and stuff like that, and
like
sometimes for notes. Hey,
Quizlet Live.
But we use them sometimes in class, but the technology piece, that's a component that I believe will continue to be pushed for education. The other thing, just the standards have changed a little bit as far as writing in the classroom. There's been a strong emphasis and a push for the level of writing to increase and critical thinking skills and things like that. Whereas when I started in education, it was always there, and we always did a lot of writing because we're Troy High School.
Of course.
We gotta
Of
be the
course.
best.
Of
We
course.
gotta be
It's
the
in the,
best.
it's in the name.
But they the changes in the AP test just have morphed since 2015. So there's been more of an emphasis on that writing component and critical thinking skills, I'd say.
I think that technology comment is pretty accurate. But was it like a, because you said we just got these Chromebooks, like was it, when did they start?
The sophomore year, our sophomore year, so
Right?
2017, 18.
Was it a very drastic change to like how you taught, or were they more like, okay, you're gonna be introduced to more technology, so like slowly start changing towards it, or were they like, here's a Chromebook, you use a Chromebook?
It was really, yeah, it was like.
What they've tried to do, and they've done a better job at this in recent years, whenever they've introduced a new piece of technology, it's always the first question that comes up is, how do you use it? And they have to train you how to use it. And the training has gotten a lot better. When they first started rolling out technology, before the Chromebooks even, and they'd say, oh, we want you to use this new piece. The training was never that great, and so nobody knew how to use it practically in the classroom. They've been able to get better at that, where it's like, okay, here's some new technology, and we want you to use it to enhance the classroom experience. It's a tool.
Right.
View it as a tool. Use it to your benefit, as much as you want, kind of thing. And so they've gotten better about training us on certain programs and like Quizlet Live.
Oh
and,
yeah, Quizlet Live,
Kahoot, and just the other capabilities that you can do with it. So it's gotten better. It's gotten a lot better as far as that technology component is concerned.
That's good.
And
That's great.
different teachers, as you guys experience, use it more, and different teachers use it less.
Yeah.
So, like, do you think you're still learning, like, as a teacher about, like, what technology can and can't do? Because I heard from some seniors last year you used to, like, let them type notes on their Chromebook, but then this year you want us to write by hand.
Yeah.
Like, do you think you're, like, constantly learning as you're going along?
Oh, yeah. I think you're always learning, and you're always trying to figure out what works best and the best way for students to be able to take in the information that you're giving.
Right.
And the reason why I made that change was because last year's classes, they did a pretty good job of taking notes, but there were certain students that would literally just sit there and stare at their computer because they had a Google Doc up, and they'd watch as another student type the notes for the whole class. So
I can see it, yeah.
I want the students to be engaged and take your own notes and give your own voice to the notes versus just looking at somebody else's writing and what they're doing, and really you can disengage mentally and not have to be actively learning what's going on. So that's why I made the change this year as an example of technology being used and all that.
Yeah, speaking of like learning as you're teaching, is it true? Because a lot of like, or at least I don't think more recently for me, but like when I was in junior high and stuff, teachers would also like constantly tell us like, oh, we learn more from our students than our students learn from us. Is that true to an extent, or like what can you say about that?
I think that's true to an extent. I mean, with technology, I would say there's a lot of students at Troy that are they know more about technology than we do, than some of the teachers, and I think I've even asked for help on a couple of things, like, hey, does anybody know how to do this? And it's not a big deal,
Yeah, of course.
I'm not embarrassed by that, because it's always changing. Technology is always changing. You're always learning new things, you're always adapting and making things better. I think the thing you learn as a teacher from your students is you learn right away kind of what a strength and the weaknesses are of the class. And kind of how to morph your style with them, with their personality, with the class's personality. So
that works really well.
So, and it could depend on even the time of the day. Some students, if it's 0 period,
That's me.
there's not much engagement there because
6 period.
you're still asleep. It's like you're still asleep at the wheel, and that's nobody's fault necessarily. It's just that's stinking early in the morning, and you just went to bed at 3 in the morning and you got 4 hours of sleep, and you're just tired. You're still waking up.
There's a huge difference when I switched from 4th period last semester to 0 period for APUSH this year. It got so much harder for some reason.
You're so waking up early.
Gosh.
And I've taught 0 period for a long time. This year I don't have one, but 0 period, usually the classes are a little bit sleepy.
Yeah.
They're a little bit less engaged. So a lot more movement and stretch breaks and getting people moving around and stuff helps. But time of day can make a difference in a class's personality, and then just the overall kind of attitude. What I love about this year's classes in particular, I love the personalities of my different students that these classes are made up of, where I feel like they're here for the right reasons. As far as like a lot of students that I've had, not necessarily like seniors from this year, but like going way back, were there just for the grade. Like just there, okay, tell me what I need to know to get the A, tell me what I need to know to get the 5 on the AP test, and they're just there for the grade. Whereas this year's classes, and I genuinely mean this, I feel like they're there because they want to learn. They want to know you. They want to get to know the curriculum. And yeah, grades are important. The AP test is important, but also there's this like genuineness where it's like, yeah, I'm kind of excited to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholson.
I really mean that.
I'm still disappointed that we didn't learn more about Cowboys, but that's okay. I'll let that slide.
You know what? I knew you would be disappointed that we didn't spend the whole day on Cowboys.
Learning about the 20s were really fun too.
We'll hit it again on the AP review.
Okay, that's all right.
So I guess we can say that your Troy experience has kind of come full circle because you used to be a student here, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Amazing. Who was your were you in APUS history when you were here?
I actually was not. No,
Oh.
I didn't take APUS. I know, and it shocks most people.
Okay.
So I didn't take APUS, and I believe the other APUS teachers didn't take APUS either.
They went to Troy as well?
No, they didn't go to Troy.
Well, I think the classes they were
They didn't
in.
take APUS
Oh.
either. But you obviously, once you've been teaching something for a while and training and all that,
You get better.
You're qualified for it. But yeah, it always shocks people that I didn't take APUSH.
What about
at Troy.
your history experience at Troy? Did you take US
I
history?
loved. I took U.S. history. I took Honors World, but they didn't call it Honors World back then. They had a different kind of path. One of my biggest regrets was I was in AP Euro, and I remember being in the class, and it was Mr. Madrid's class.
Yeah,
This isn't any fault to Mr. Madrid. This is actually just what happened. I'm in the class, and he's talking about what the class is going to look like. This is the first week of school. He's talking about all the qualifications and all that you're going to do in AP Euro. And I looked around the class and I said, I do not know a single person in this class. Where are all my friends?
That scares everybody.
Where are all my friends?
Yeah.
And I was the kid who was into sports, was into athletics,
Yeah.
and so for me, that was my group of friends.
The
And
popular one. Oh,
No.
I'm sorry about that. I'm so sorry.
Actually, the way I qualify myself
A
is
stud.
no, I was an athletic nerd.
Well, that's like everyone at
Whoa.
Troy.
That's the
50% of
perfect
it.
choice student.
Athletic
right there.
stud.
That was me.
Perfect
Like, and I
choice
wasn't even, and I use the term athletic very loosely.
Oh, okay.
Very loosely.
Okay,
I would
well.
say I was above average as far as my athletics go. But anyway, I digress. So I'm in AP Euro and I'm looking around and I'm saying, where are all my friends?
Yeah.
And I kind of psyched myself out and I dropped the class.
Oh.
I should have
Oh.
stayed. I should have stayed in AP Euro, and then I would have taken APUSH next year.
Yeah.
And I would have loved it because I know how great of a teacher Mr. Madrid is. I would have loved
yeah.
APUSH, and then I would have gone that path. But high school Mr. Nicholson had a different motivation. It all worked out in the long run, you know. But yeah, that would be something that I experienced.
So you guys heard it here. If your friends aren't in your class, just drop it. I mean, come on, let's be honest, guys.
Become Mr. Nicholson.
Become Mr. Nicholson.
That is not what I'm saying.
So did you when did you have this epiphany that I want to teach history, I want to be involved with history later in my life, I want to become a teacher? What was that defining moment? Was it in high school or was it more in college?
I always enjoyed the history classes that I had here at Troy. Always was interested in the material and wanted to learn more and things like that. And then in college, I took some really cool history classes. I took a class on the Civil War. And so this Civil War reenactor came in. He brought his gun.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, it was cool.
Oh, we should have one of those.
And then I took a
Dang.
class, and I'm going to share this with you guys more second semester later on this semester, but I took a class on the Vietnam War, and the guy who taught the class actually fought in the war.
Oh, no way.
So we had some crazy war stories that he would tell us and stuff like that. So that always piqued my interest.
Yeah.
for history, I would say, particularly. I knew I always kind of liked it. And then when it came down to, well, I want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, what subject do I want to teach? History was just
History.
more of a natural fit. And
Right.
and I took math classes here, like I took like the calculus class and some of the other ones. And I had to work really hard. Like I did well on the math classes. Science, a little different story. But the math classes, but I had to work really hard to get a good grade in those. So I knew like math and science
Wasn't your thing.
that's not my thing.
Yeah.
That's not my thing. So history made more sense.
Great.
Okay.
That's awesome. How do you because you teach a lot of units that track over a lot of events that happen in history, but like, how do you approach a topic that you like versus one you don't really want to teach? It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Of course, there are always those kind of things, but overall, how do you try and tackle each one based on your preference of which?
The ones I don't like, I just completely skip them. No.
Okay, I was like, wait, what do we?
I knew we didn't learn about economy because of that
There
reason.
you go. There you go. No, the topics, it's funny because you guys, from a student perspective, probably know the days that we're gonna have where it's gonna be like, okay, this isn't the most. You
agriculture.
I preface it for you because I came to a point in my career where I was teaching about farming, for example, and and I came to a point in my career where I was like, I cannot make this exciting. I could put on a show and sing and dance, and nobody would care any more about farming. So I came to a point in my career where I just said, I just am going to be honest. I'm just going to tell it straight up. This is going to be kind of a letdown of a day, guys.
Yeah.
We're going to just plug our way through it because we got to know it.
Yeah.
It's part of the standards. But I cannot make certain topics engaging. Usually I just make fun of stuff. When it's not engaging, I'll just make fun of it.
Oh, you do. That's true. That's true.
That's kind of my default is just to make fun or make fun of myself. Either one,
I also
whatever
I
works.
appreciate how the class reacts, especially when you say something like, "We're gonna learn about agricultural reform. Get ready," and then everyone they just power down. They gotta mentally prepare themselves to learn about agriculture for 3 days. And I don't know. I think that's the funniest thing. But for some reason, we're still engaging and writing notes. We make the most fun out of something that's boring. I never thought I'd be able to be listen to how politics and economy worked in a class without hating myself. I know that's really weird, but I don't know. When I was thinking about FDR and how he was doing all the New Deal stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, if it doesn't work, scrap it. Let's do something else. And I was like, that's crazy. I didn't know a president could do this. He just goes and does whatever he wants to do for the sake of the country. And most of it was just about economy and politics. And I was still paying attention.
For me, what really engages me is I think it's personally, I process it as you're telling me a story. And I see the protagonist, I see the antagonist, I see other characters and events that happen. And I'm reading and I'm writing, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. Oh my god,
So
Hitler, and then everything's coming up.
Basically, you're watching a movie, right?
Yeah, I'm watching a movie, but I'm seeing it spoken to me and on a PowerPoint. I never thought that could happen. But just you seem to give off that sort of energy that I can vibe with.
I appreciate that, and and hearing that from you guys, that's my goal, is to engage my students, to engage you in the story of U.S. history, to try and make it almost personal for you, where it's you can relate to these people. Like you said, it's like watching a movie where you're seeing, what's this guy going to do next? This is crazy. I can't believe that they did this, or this is going on. So a good storyteller, I think, can make a difference in a history class.
And you are that storyteller.
Thank you.
are that
Thank you.
storyteller.
But that's why you'll talk to people who you ask them, oh, what's your favorite subject and what's your least favorite? Well, people that are oh, I love history, usually it's because they have a teacher who can engage them with stories and things like that. And then people that are oh, history's boring. It's my least favorite class because it's not as engaging.
Yeah.
You've got to find something that engages your audience, engages your students. And that's something that I really work hard on. So I appreciate you guys.
Definitely. What personally is your favorite unit to teach about?
It's like asking you to choose your favorite child. Can I list maybe 3?
Oh yeah,
Can I
go
do
for
a
it.
couple
Go for
of
it.
them? Okay.
Alright.
So the unit that we're currently in, the World War II stuff, always loved World War II history. Just
Yeah.
find it fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
especially the U.S. role, because there's so much going on within America itself, and then even outside of America with the fighting of the war.
Right.
So there's so much there. The Civil War is always fascinating for me because
Yeah.
I think Lincoln is just amazing as far as his presidency.
He's a great
Obviously,
president.
I have a special place in my heart for G-Dub.
Yeah, G-Dub.
G-Dub.
G-Dub, the man.
I don't know if you're gonna have
Come
questions
on,
about
guys.
him, but yeah, Lincoln and the Civil War and that time period is very fascinating. And then we haven't gotten to it yet, but you guys are really going to find the 1960s.
Of course we're gonna
Very-
fit
Cold
this
War.
Very interesting.
Is that the Cold War?
No, it's,
No.
it's not just the. It's,
That's the
well,
swing
Cold War is
Cold
still going on. No, the Cold War is going on during
Uh-huh.
that time, but it's a fascinating decade.
Okay.
We've got Vietnam, the
Oh,
Civil
yeah.
Rights Movement.
Oh.
There's
What about, like,
a
NASA?
lot
I can't
going
wait for
on.
that.
Space race.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
there's
that's a
Oh.
lot.
there's a lot going on
Oof,
during
that's
that
gonna
time
sound
period.
very
So
fun.
it's very interesting, and especially when you look at it with parallels to today.
Yeah.
And some of the dissension that happens in the 60s and some of the dissension that we have today. Not to get political or anything, but just overall, just the tension that we have in our country right
Mhm.
now.
Also space respect, because back in the 60s we were talking about space, and now we're talking about space again because of the Opportunity rover that died recently. You guys heard?
Oh,
you guys heard about that?
Mars,
R.I.P.
Yeah, the
Finally.
the Opportunity, the Opportunity rover was only supposed to last like 90 days,
And it lasted
ended, like,
for-
15 years. That's crazy.
It's like our whole life.
Finally,
I think
yeah, it went out.
I think that's like one of the major parts of like our civilization as a whole is just our fascination with space. It's always been there. It's always like constant.
Yeah.
It's the final frontier.
Yeah.
It's unexplored.
In the big,
territory.
back then, like astronomy was a big part of like scientific, like discoveries and stuff too. So that's definitely a big part of our
Mhm.
life. I don't want to get too heavy on politics on you. Speaking of, but recently the LAUSD strike did happen, and a lot of teachers went on strike, trying to get higher salaries, less students in classes, and just a better education environment overall. Like, how do you feel teaching in the Fullerton Joint Union High School District? How does that how do you kind of perceive teachers in LA that aren't as fortunate, and like they don't have the they don't have the
Or like, do you find yourself
resources?
lucky to be able to teach in Fullerton as compared to
Yeah.
New
Or
York?
does the
Yeah.
problem extend to here too?
I would say that, yeah, I would consider myself, blessed to be able to teach in this district. And then I would consider myself to be very blessed to teach at Troy High School.
Mhm.
I mean, Troy is a place that unless you're here in this environment, people don't really understand the school and how we function. I mean, we function almost like this private, high academic school, but we're public.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have such high caliber students,
Yeah.
and we have so many of them. Every high school has their high caliber students.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Every class, they all have their top of the class,
Yeah.
people. At Troy, it's like the bar is raised for everybody. I mean, and you
Oh my
feel the
God.
pressure of
That's
it
so fun.
because the competition is there for
Yes.
everybody wanting to, be at
the
the
best.
top and be the best. And that's a great thing to strive for. That's something that we as a country strive for.
Yeah.
But I try and describe, Troy High School and what it's like. And the thing is, I haven't taught anywhere else. I did my student teaching at a different school.
Right.
But I've never taught anywhere else. And so for me, I can't compare it to teaching like somewhere else in LA or
Yeah.
anything like that. I've only taught in one place
Mhm.
for my whole career. But it has been so rewarding and so awesome because you don't have the classroom management problems that you would have. You're not breaking up fights at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And students.
That's
It's
true.
just
That's
very
very
different
true.
here at Troy.
I think it's also us being students. We're fortunate to be in this like safe environment where it's not problems with bullies or
Well, I mean, you're gonna
I
find
mean,
bullies
there's
everywhere.
always gonna
Yeah.
be like those
But,
kind of problems. It's just
we're more geared towards education and like getting together and studying. I think it's just a environment where we can strive for more
Yeah,
I
and
think
it
it's like, it's
allows
like
us to do that
the
better.
teachers. It's not only the teachers that are blessed to be able to teach here, but it's the students that are blessed to be able to learn
Overall.
from those teachers.
Yeah.
But
Like,
also,
we are blessed to learn from Mr.
you guys like find a problem when I feel like some teachers, they kind of pride themselves off of giving lower grades to students. You know, they make their class like extra hard. Do you guys experience that?
I don't know.
Like
Like this year was
kind
kind of fun,
your
but
students?
no, they're like, oh, we had too many A's on this test. Next year it's gonna be a little
yeah.
harder.
Oh, yes.
I don't get that. Is it just like
Is
you're
that-
trying to keep?
I wouldn't
Yeah,
want
I
to
don't want
pry,
to go.
but
I don't want to go into
I don't wanna
any,
pry,
any
but
topics
yeah.
there. That's not something you guys could talk about that more on your own. But
Let's talk about that later, guys.
but that was a good note to I think end off of. Mr.
But,
Nicholson.
Yeah, we do have like a last question, I guess, or like a last discussion topic.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
we're all okay. We're only like 7. I'm
16, 17.
Yeah,
we're all
17.
very young.
I've been here like pretty much since like in the same environment. I haven't seen anything change. I'm too young, and I feel like I'm too young to understand really anything that's going on. But as someone who's like experienced like so much more than we have, and like really seen society change, and been able to like participate in that societal change, like is there anything you can give us as form of like life advice or
Words of
anything?
wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
Or even
huh?
Troy advice.
Mr.
because-
Or even Troy advice.
Yeah, even
okay,
Troy advice.
Okay, well let's break those up into two different categories here. Let's start with Troy advice.
Okay.
My advice, and this is what I tell my students, is your experience at Troy goes by very fast. It goes by very quickly, especially when you get into the junior and senior year.
Mhm.
And I always encourage students to just pause, look around, and enjoy life where you can. You know, obviously you're busy, obviously you're stressed, obviously there's a lot of tests and quizzes
Of course.
and essays, and you're working through stuff. But enjoy those moments, especially with the people who you're with.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
especially senior year, because that year just goes by so fast. Before you know it, it's second semester. You know what college you're going to, and
Second
you're gonna be
semester
saying
senior.
goodbye- You're going to be
Getting
saying
choked
goodbye
up.
to friends that maybe you've had for a couple years here. So you definitely want to, you know, the phrase "stop and smell the roses" every once in a while. You
Yeah.
definitely want to just take in, be present in the moment. You know,
Yeah.
as much as you can, especially when you get to your junior and senior year. Freshman year, you have no clue.
You're afraid of everything.
You don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
and school seems huge, and you're just like, where am I? So, yeah, freshman year and then sophomore year, you enjoy a little bit more, and then junior and senior year, you know your routine, you know what's
Yeah.
going on, and
Yeah,
all that.
definitely.
So, I would say that's my advice for
Nice.
Troy High School. Now, as far as like life advice, what do you? I'm trying to. You mean just in general?
I
I
don't
mean, you
know. It's
mentioned
'cause, like,
societal
Just
as a
just
whole.
like you know, an adult to.
It's like
you know,
guys, like,
up-
I turned 18
rising.
this year. That's insane. Like I was literally
Oh.
talking to my dad the other day, and he was like, you know, you just got your license, things like that. And then I'm like, yeah.
we're
And then-
getting there.
No,
You know,
and,
to
yeah, and I
adult.
told him like, well, I'm going to college next year, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gone like soon. And then he's like, well, yeah, but you're turning 17. I was like, no, I turned 18 this year. And he just didn't believe it. He thought I was like a 14-year-old.
It's like
kid.
that video, you know.
He literally was staring at me in like 5 minutes. He's like, you turned 18 this year. And that scared me myself because I'm like, I don't want to turn 18. I don't want to like get a job and pay tax. I want to stay with my parents for free. And I'm just so scared now because I feel like all of this is coming way too fast for me, and I can't keep up with anything.
Yeah. As far as life advice regarding that, I mean, it's kind of the same thing where you just gotta take in those moments where you can, you know, enjoy the people you're with. It's funny because somebody said to me, you know, going beyond my years of wisdom, somebody who's a little bit older said to me one time, nobody ever gets to the end of their life and says, you know, I wish I would have worked more. My biggest regret in life is I wish I would have been on the job more. I wish I could have put in more hours at work. You know what they say at the end of life? I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I wish I would have spent more time with my friends and the people who are my family members and things like that. So I would put the emphasis on, as you guys get older, on relationships. You know, like you guys are going to go to college someday and you're going to enjoy college. You're going to have a great time. You're going to find out that it's easier than Troy in some ways. Okay, you really will. You really will. But just enjoying the people that you're around
Yeah.
and really having good friendships and just understanding, a person, just being known, okay, is so huge, and being known by others and getting to know others.
Yeah.
I think would be the kind of life advice that I would say. And I have to do that myself, where I have to pause and okay, I've got 20 things to do in 10 minutes, and you got to slow yourself down sometimes.
Yeah.
We live in a fast-paced society. Southern California is very fast-paced.
Yeah.
If you guys go live somewhere else like the Midwest, you'll say, does anybody get anything done around here? Like, it's different parts of the country operate on different schedules. But I would say like just again, enjoy the time, because it does go by quick.
Yeah.
Well, I think that that really is Mr. Nicholson.
That was great advice. That
There you
was
go.
very good.
Thank you so much.
Just
thank
like
you.
to thank you again, because you took time out of your day, out of your
Yeah.
My
busy
pleasure.
week,
My pleasure, guys.
to talk to us, and
This was
I'm
fun.
very thankful for that.
This was
Thank
fun.
This
Thank
was
you so much
is
for
very
this.
fun.
And I feel like people will understand us and you more now. And
There you go.
We'll have a better
Better connection.
connection.
Well, I hope I double your ratings.
Thank you. I secretly, this was all a ploy just to get more views.
So looking
We've been exposed.
looking forward, we're gonna try and put out more episodes more frequently. But we hope this was a great way to kick it off this semester with Mr. Nicholson. So
Our
thank you.
AP US History teacher, best
Yes.
history teacher.
And we are sorry for
Too kind.
the lack of
But yeah, we'll try and put out more
You know.
content.
Hopefully this makes up.
inconsistency.
I think
but
You guys are fun. You're fun.
So thank you so much,
Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Nicholson. This has been 7th period. I'm Ryan Chung.
I'm Justin Wayne,
I'm Justin Kim.
Riley Ann.
and this is Mr. Nicholson.
So
So
long.
you can say bye.